Britain and 4 other nations are imposing sanctions on 2 right-wing Israeli cabinet members. Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir will be subject to asset freezes and travel bans, along with the country's Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Norway are also sanctioning the 2 ministers for allegedly inciting violence against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Israel's foreign minister opposes the British move.
We were informed about UK decision to include 2 of our ministers on the British sanctions list. It is outrageous that elected representatives and members of the government are subjected to this kind of measures. I discussed it earlier today with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and we will hold a special government meeting early next week to decide on our response to this unacceptable decision. Thank you.
I asked our Jerusalem correspondent Tanya Kramer how significant this move is.
Well, it's quite an unprecedented move we are seeing here by the UK and other international allies who, according to these reports, will formally sanction the 2 far-right ministers. One is the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. What this would include, we understand, would be freezing their assets and also impose travel bans. So it's quite unprecedented in a way that, this is not the usual way of what we've seen, at least in the beginning of the war, verbal statements. There are actually consequences now over the actions taken by the Israeli government, in particular these 2 ministers who have been advocating for an endless war, but also over their actions in the occupied West Bank. They're both proponents of, annexation and the building and expansion of settlements, as well as supporting, displacement of larger parts of people in the northern West Bank. Now, I think what it basically says is that, this is now part of a problem of the government. It's not just a fringe group or some fringe settlers that have been, sanctioned right now, but this goes right to the heart of the government. It also gives, signals also maybe to the United States that there's a group of countries now there spearheading this effort. And if you also look at that now in a way that you have the Prime Minister, 1 former Defense Minister, the Minister for National Security and the Finance Minister, so very important ministries now, whereas the Prime Minister and the former Defense Minister have an ICC warrant by the International Criminal Court, and these 2 ministers would also not be able to travel anywhere. So this is quite a strong signal from these countries.
That was DW's Tanya Kramer there reporting from Jerusalem. Our coverage continues now with DW correspondent Birgit Moss. She is covering the story for us from London. Birgit, what do these sanctions, what do they mean in concrete terms?
Well, on a purely pragmatic level, they don't go that far. It just means that the ministers cannot travel to the UK and cannot have any financial dealings through UK institutions. But of course, diplomatically, this is much more, and it's quite explosive, as Tanya has just explained. And the reaction by the Israeli government, obviously, with also still discussing further steps. I mean, we'll have to see how they react, but it's a big step from the UK and its allies. Important to say, though, that they have not gone as far as some in the UK have pressed the government to do. So there were loud voices that were pressing for more sanctions, harder sanctions, also a complete ban on sending any weapons or weapon parts to Israel, and even a recognition of the Palestinian state. So those are all more instruments that are being discussed in the UK, but for the moment, this is the step that the UK government has gone today together with other countries.
And together with other countries, we have this decision by the British government. Why did the British government decide to go this route?
They are explaining in a joint statement together with Australia, Canada, New Zealand and Norway. They are saying that those two ministers have incited extremist violence and serious abuses of Palestinian human rights. And they say that the displacement of Palestinians and that the creation of new Israeli settlements, that was appalling and dangerous. And they are calling on the Israeli government to uphold international law.
And what about the timing of this decision, Birgit? I mean, are there indications that the British government perhaps bowed to pressure from within the party, within the Labour Party?
Yes, there is an unease and large parts of British society. We've had a letter by civil servants urging the government to not just stand by and put pressure on the Israeli government. That has been a fairly recent development that's been reported. And we also know that within the Labour Party itself, for example, Emily Thornberry, who is the chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee and also a Labour MP, so from the government party, that she suggests to actually go further, to coordinate with France and to recognize a Palestinian state. So this is not the end, at least of the discussion here in the UK.
DW correspondent Birgit Maas with the latest from London tonight. Birgit, as always, thank you.